Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our commodity technical analysis update. I'm going to give you my financial opinions on it. And if you guys need any help with the commodity bull market that's coming, check out the website, finding-value.com. Platinum membership, use the word discount in the coupon code. So we're going to start with the dollar, work our way through yields, precious metals, and then the commodities that I follow. So looking at the DXY is flat today. And we've had a lot of volatility. Big up days, big down days, and now we've got this little volatility. Now, which way is this thing going to go? Generally speaking, you've got larger downside pressure here. This does look like it could move to the downside, although we've had a battle between the buyers and sellers, and we've had a break of this downtrend sideways. Usually this goes higher, but we've had these strong selling days here that kind of throws off the mix. And we haven't really had any buying pressure the past 2 days. So that's why I'm favoring the DXY to go to the downside in the very short term. In the short term, though, I do not trade that time frame. It is very hard to get right. And generally, I kind of just let the short term move all over the place. But big, longer term view on the dollar. This is kind of what it looks like. We hit our head on this resistance line and came on back. Are we going to get a turn here? Will we head back higher like that? Something on the lines of that? It's possible. Looking at the 10-year yield. So this is yields. Yields were down today, and I still think that we've got these big selling pressure days through here, and the buying pressure is not as much. That still looks like to me that yields want to fall lower. What that means is bond prices higher, yields lower. So this is bond prices to go higher in the short term. And then the 30-year yield, it still looks to me like this could potentially go lower. We had that big move here. We had an ultimate peak with a little bit lower peak there. And then we got that sell-off to the downside. And I do think that's going to go a little bit longer to the downside here, wherever it ends up being. It's kind of like a ABC correction, something on the lines of that. Looking at the ratio, the TYX to TNX ratio, so we're looking to see if the 30-year inverts or uninverts, and it's really flat. It's not really anything. So it's not going to see a huge, I don't think there's going to be a huge move in gold yet. We did have oil go higher. Oil generally moves up with interest rates, but right now we've got kind of a divergence there. So the CRB index is higher today, just like oil is. That is a strong mover to the upside. That is basically reclaiming above that downtrend line. I think I did it on logarithmic. No, maybe not. But there's a trend in here. We're getting back above it. Oil's looking pretty solid today, at least. The CRB to S&P 500 slightly lower, down 4.43%. And there we are, and that's what it looks like there. Is this kind of like a double top pattern in the short term? It could be. Again, I don't play the short-term stuff. Longer term, I think this looks fantastic for a move higher. But in the short term, we could pull back a little bit more to some degree. Looking at gold, gold is basically flat today. Generally, when you have a flat dollar and lower yields, gold is generally doing quite well. But gold today was flat given those conditions. And we'll see where this thing goes. I mean, it does look like we've got not much buying and selling, like the buyers and sellers are kind of equaling out here. So interesting to see if we turn or if we continue to move higher in gold. I don't really have a clear reading here. We've broken to the upside, and I think we're just going to grind higher. Maybe we get larger moves. That's kind of what I'm envisioning looking at this candlestick data. Silver lower, but again, it's not horrible here. I mean, am I going to grab this thing down here where we basically get another pattern that looks something like that? Very well possible, and this would still be bullish. And what we have here is a nice bullish candlestick, small selling pressure through here, a little bit of selling pressure, but again, we came and answered back with the bullish engulfing and small selling pressure. That still, to me, looks like it wants to go higher. Maybe this is the pattern that we're creating, maybe not, but I still think it looks all right. It doesn't look horrible yet. And then platinum, we had a pretty big reversal today. We had what I thought was going to be a monster day. Ended up actually ending down today. It's still 3 small candlesticks. I will say with the momentum shift that this is a win for the sellers, and we'll see if we get a little bit more selling pressure. If we put in a small down candlestick or a big reversal candlestick, it's still game on. But right now, sellers won on the day. We'll see what happens tomorrow. XAU to gold ratio, a little bit of selling pressure. It is almost technically a bearish piercing type pattern. So we'll see where we go tomorrow. It's nothing huge. It's not a overwhelming candlestick or anything like that. So we might have maybe a small little pullback before heading higher. We've got GDX slightly down. Again, that's covering the top. We call that dark cloud cover. Basically, this covers the closing price of the day before with the opening price and the closing price. That does mean that we could potentially head a little bit lower. Momentum's a little bit lower. And I don't think it'll be a huge down move, but maybe we have a down day or two, maybe not. Sometimes when you get these little candlesticks, it's not a huge indication of where we could potentially go. SILJ also getting that dark cloud cover. I think we're just going to grind a little bit before heading higher. Crude oil. This was here. I'm gonna pull up the 5-day here. It was quite volatile throughout the trading session today. Now, this is going to be the last week. I just want to show you the last week of how this thing's been moving up and down. Here's your up and down movements. But today, we had a nice, strong sell-off here, and we came to a corner and broke to the upside. So the momentum is to the upside. We've even broken this guy here out of that little pattern we've got. And this has been kind of the week and how volatile it's been. So crude oil has been incredibly volatile. It does look good for a continued move higher. We finished strong on the day. We were looking at the daily there. So we could break out of here at any second. So that looks really good. You could even consider this kind of a, inverted shoulder developing, maybe. We'll see if that is an actual case, and that would be an end of trend type movement with an inverted head and shoulders of this big downtrend, which correlates very well with the falling wedge. So that's also looking quite good from a intermediate to short term for a move higher. Natural gas has been ultra volatile. This is very heavily weather dependent, and I do not see a clear bottom yet. So we're waiting for that bottom. I do not see it yet. XOP, yeah, you know me, it's looking better. And it does look like that we could be transpiring into, maybe, here, I'll draw it maybe a little bit different. Something like this, like it's almost a shoulder, head, shoulder or something. I don't know. We'll see. I noticed that on oil, you could maybe make a case for it here, but we've broken the downtrend. It's looking okay in the short term. But again, we still have some strong selling pressure movements in here. Where we've kind of sold off and it's taken more days to come back up. So we could still spill out, if it wants to, a little bit lower to kind of end this trend, so to speak. But that's what we've got there for XOP, OIH, energy service companies, small little down day to day. Again, we're right at that resistance level. If we back out, let's see if there's any other resistance levels or if we see any other patterns. There's logarithmic there. It still looks really bullish to me. Really, really bullish. I'm going to remain a bull on energy service companies. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust down 0.61%. Where are we going? We got a little wick at the bottom here. That does mean there's a little bit of buying pressure down there. So, let's wait and see what the next candlesticks are. We've got a good drive. Momentum's higher. We've got a bearish engulfing here, which means, are we going to put a turn in? We'll find out. URNM, slightly higher, no reversal candlestick, really. It did gap up with momentum. Momentum's heading down. That's why it's a red candlestick. But it still looks fine. And even you guys got to keep in mind here, we do break out a lot, and then we get these like return moves. So it is highly likely that we could get a return move of some degree lower. Things don't go up straight. Don't get overly optimistic. You kind of just have to be patient and be, I don't know, quite boring with it, because markets kind of move. They move up and down. They get retest moves. They get all sorts of stuff and try to shake you out of the trade. Tan's looking fantastic. Very strong there. Let's look at the weekly candlesticks. Very, very strong. We can see that the lows are kind of creeping up here. I do think that the buyers are winning out, and I think this will break at some point to the upside and get a big old run out of it. Copper running higher here. It looks really good, up 0.42% today. There we are, and this looks really good. It's big old pattern here, kind of that double bottom. Looks really good. We'll call it the booty bottom. But yeah, it looks great. Now, would I be chasing up here? I wouldn't. You should have been entered down here with those bullish engulfings and just been riding this thing higher. Looking at lithium up 2.4%. Are we going to break out back through that resistance line, or is this going to be a spot that we turn and head back down? Let's back out a little bit and see what we're doing on the monthlies. That's what the monthlies look like. We still have these big down candlesticks and not much buying pressure yet. But that doesn't mean it can't reverse. Doesn't mean that we can't reverse back up higher here. But right now, we still have a lot of downside pressure on it. But it is making headway in the short term to the upside, so that's a good thing. REMX heading higher. This looks good. We're right at support. We kind of dipped below it. Now we're coming up above it. It's holding on. Go REMX. Go REMX. SPX up 1.3%. Looks like we've got some good closing here too. Remember what we saw: slightly weaker dollar, lower yields. Those are tailwinds for the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. So that's higher, and then the composite index is also higher. We had the bullish engulfing, the bloody nose. That's all good for a continued move higher. And if we continue to get those rates to come back down, which it looks like we're going to, I do expect that we could see a short-term rally in the S&P 500 and NASDAQ in the short term. Emerging markets continue to look good. Now, I like emerging markets. I think they look really good here, and I think they could continue higher. I've been saying that all from this trend line break there. So, yeah, still looks good. XHB, we're going higher. What? I thought we were in a housing market crash, guys. Why is this going up? Well, I've been talking about this double bottom, or the W bottom. We are breaking to the upside here today. I call that the turtle head, when it's peeking its head out above the resistance line, saying, "Hey guys, look at me. You should be noticing me. I'm, turtle heading out here." So XHB and the homebuilders, they actually look really good. And maybe we're going to have loosening monetary conditions. That's why the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, that's why yields are going down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It all kind of ties together. MU is also heading higher. That does link up with the overall market, so maybe we will get lower yields. But MU's looking better. Copper's moving higher. This does not look like a recession. Does that look like a recession when Dr. Copper's flinging on higher? Maybe China's got more of an impact than what people think. But copper's looking very strong. Lumber also breaking to the upside of this falling wedge pattern, looking good. And the home builders are looking strong. Maybe you can paint a picture that the housing market isn't as bad and that we've actually are starting to bottom in the housing market. That could be the case. Could be. I don't know for sure, but lumber's moving higher. Home builders are looking better. And then maybe we get weaker yields, which are going to help mortgage rates to come down. Mortgage rates coming down puts a big tailwind behind housing. So it could be that the banks are positioning in some of these areas before announcements get released. Iron ore, this is big old iron ore. It's popped out of this thing to the upside. I do think that's going to look very good for a potential investment with this declining wedge. Here's the line chart. There you go. You're breaking out of it. It looks very solid. Nickel down a little bit. we noticed that we broke down below the trend line here. This is a rising or ascending wedge, and generally they break to the downside. So we might have a little bit of a reversal before a move higher. Does not mean that this big long-term trend is broken. It just means the smaller intermediate to small, short-term trend is broken. Aluminum still looking great. We've got kind of a shoulder developing where I think this is an inverted shoulder, and we're going to do a little launch on aluminum. I'm an ultra bull on aluminum. I think there's a couple of good ways to play it. And I think aluminum's going to have a big old move. And it could be a move like this. And there are some companies that are massively leveraged to a move like that. Notice this. There's another inverted head and shoulders here. Inverted head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders. And let's see if this thing rolls, guys. Baltic Dry Index, slightly lower. I don't know if this is delayed a little bit. I am a bull on the Baltic Dry Index. I'm a bull on oil. I'm a bull on basically anything commodity related. Give me a dart. I'll throw it at any of these commodities, and I think they're going to do well over a long time frame. Newcastle Coal just moving sideways. Not much to say there. And then Ethereum up a little bit. Same with Bitcoin. These are also signaling that potential loosening monetary conditions could be coming, and people are positioning in those assets. So that's what I've got for today, guys. To sum it up, I would say let's see where precious metals goes: gold, silver, platinum. Oil's looking very strong. Natural gas, conversely, is looking a little bit on the weak side, and that is weighing down on some of the assets of the oil and natural gas producers. Energy services still looking strong. I think uranium is still doing quite well. Let's see if that momentum can continue ahead. Home builders and lumber looking really strong. Surprisingly, right? Remember, we're at the front edge of this. We're seeing it before everyone else. What we're seeing is the positioning in the market. And if you can see that positioning in the market before everyone else, that's your advantage. That's the advantage. Now, people can tell you why. Well, why is it doing that? You're not going to know why, guys. You don't know why. You will never know the why, and the why does not matter. There'll be stories that come out later explaining why this is happening. They are made up. Nobody knows the actual reasoning. And maybe the reasoning, if I were to guess a reasoning, the reasoning is that the Federal Reserve tightens and loosens, the banks front run it, and they make money and take money from all the retail investors because they front run everything. What we're doing is we're looking at how these big guys are positioning in the markets, and by them positioning, it influences the charts in the market. It gives us an edge because we can tell or see something before news is being released. It doesn't matter what the news is. It's just, people believe in the news. I don't really care about the news. All I care about is what are we breaking? What is the herd doing? And how can we position to make some money from it? That's it. The fundamentals are all tailwinds. From a bigger picture view, inflation tailwinds are from the housing market. And the housing market's firming up. That's a good thing if you're a commodity investor. Maybe that recession's behind us. Maybe it's already, basically done. Don't know. We'll see. We'll continue to monitor it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to continue to monitor this with me. Give me a thumbs up. And if you guys like this type of analysis, we get a lot of really good entry points in a lot of different companies with good fundamentals. Fundamentals of the sector, fundamentals of the companies themselves, et cetera, and good chart patterns. That alignment is what gets you the big money. Or I should say, which gets you money, period. I'll just say that. And definitely sign up if that interests you to the website, the Platinum membership. Use the word discount in the coupon code. All right, guys, we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.